Good evening. I'm Todd Duplantis. You're on the road beyond. Welcome. We're glad to have you with us tonight, and we're good to see you here. We're live just about every Monday night on Facebook Live at 7 p.m. Central, so always join us for a new show. A new person on our show, her second show around, Kat Franzmeyer, my co-host. Kat, good to see you tonight. Let's see, you got to unmute your mic.
And sorry, guys, learning the technicalities of everything. But hey, Todd, it's so good to be here and to see everybody on this fabulous Monday. So thanks for joining.
Yeah. Did you have a good week?
I had a fabulous week. Thanks.
All right. Well, we've got a good show for the audience tonight, Kat. And the show is going to be a bit personal tonight. You're familiar with the situation we're going to talk about. I've had to process what's happened over this past year, especially over this past summer. And I'm getting to a point now where we're just where I'm able to share exactly what happened. We took a bit of a break over this past summer with the Road Beyond podcast. The intention was to take a short vacation, as I always do, summer vacation, but quite honestly, it turned into a nightmare. Earlier this summer, I met my wife, Laura, in her hometown of Lookout Mountain, Tennessee. Now, we spent our last 10 summers vacationing there in a cabin, not too far from where she grew up. She had driven up there with her two sons, her two twin sons, as you can see in this photo. They spent a week in Tennessee, and I flew up there on a Saturday a week later to meet all of them. Her sons flew home when I arrived. And within 2 days, Laura died 2 days later, passing in her sleep. She died of a suspected aneurysm at the age of 55.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, I'm so sorry to hear about Laura's passing. And we were all so shocked. She was so young and kept herself in such great physical shape. She was a good friend to me, and I had just seen her a month before. We had a fabulous dinner together, and so it was very surreal when I heard the news.
Right. I mean, it was surreal to us all.
Yeah, but what I've learned since Laura's passing is really especially chilling, considering the haunting warning you were given by our guest that's here tonight.
Right. Now, it's taken a while for me to really process this whole story, Kat, because, it was hard to believe. And what you're going to hear on this show tonight, this is a story that's very dear to me. But I had to put all this together. And you're going to hear some things that are, as Kat mentioned, they're chilling, but they're the truth. This is what happened. We're going to introduce Tuesday Miles. She was a previous guest. She is a psychic medium and remote viewer. She says she's never been the average ordinary human. She started seeing ghosts at the age of 2. Oddly, those spirits were animal spirits, people who had died. She says, I knew things before they happened. Accidents, plane crashes, drownings, earthquakes, and in this case, even health warnings, Kat.
Yeah, so Tuesday, welcome to the show. Let's talk about what happened last year. You appeared on our show and you were compelled to reach out to Todd privately afterwards. Tell us what happened and what you had learned.
Thanks for having me. And I'm sorry for Todd's loss. This was just a shock to myself, too, when he contacted me, let me know that his wife had passed after I sent him an email in regarding that. During the show, I picked up on some information about her sons and Todd's, maybe it was your grandfather. Was it your grandfather, Todd?
It was my grandfather,
and, but something kept bothering me about Laura. And, I even sent him another email, said, this is unusual for me to do this. I don't do this. And I don't go into medical stuff either. But something's bothering me about it. And I don't know
you
whether
called me as well and left a message as well Tuesday.
I did. Yeah. I did. And it just wasn't going to go away. It's like a feeling that you get when you know something's not right. Here it is. The thing is that we can give messages like this. We can't make you listen to them. We can't make you believe in them. But this was really bothering me. And I just didn't want to let it go and not do anything about it. It's like, I was getting visions of plane crashes. What am I going to do with the vision of plane crash?
Right.
I can't call the airlines and say, I see one of your planes go down.
Yeah.
They're going to have the FAA and my front door investigation on it. So
Right.
it's like, why show me these things? Why do I get this information if I can't do something about it?
In this particular case, you had clued into some type of health warning for Laura. And I remember you approached me and I talked to her about this, and Kat knew Laura very well. Laura was very much a skeptic. She used to watch the show and she'd kind of laugh, and she was proud of me doing the show, but she kind of took it with a grain of salt. And I do remember approaching her about this. And at first she said, she's talking about my mom because her mother has been suffering from cancer for years. I said, she said, she's talking about my mom. I said, well, she's specifically talking about you. And she said, well, I'm going to the doctor next month. And she had some health issues over the past few years. And she said, she was also a registered nurse. So she knew a lot about health. She always had her well woman exams, always, was scanned for breast cancer, everything you needed to do. And she was like, I'm going to a doctor. I'm having full blood tests running. I'm getting everything done. But I guess the whole thing, and Kat, you can speak to this as well. When you go to a doctor, you have to get a full holistic approach. And unfortunately, I think she was going to one doctor for this, one doctor for that. And there was not one person who was looking at the full picture, the full holistic approach. And I think that might have been what was missing in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just, as I put in the email, I kept saying, whether it's a medication too much medication or not enough medication. And there's a test missing. There's something that's missing here. It needs to be looked at. So, when I got your email, I can't tell you how my heart just sunk on this. And never do I ever want to feel like that I know something, especially when someone dies. And
yeah, it was always in the back of my mind for that. And I'll mention some other thing that was extremely chilling when I talk about this. You sent me that email right after the show, and that was on June 23rd of 2021. Mm-hmm. She passed away on June 20th of 2020. So it was almost exactly a year to the date. Wow. And then I reached out to you the day after she passed to let you know what happened. You also comforted me in a way because we talked about Laura and what she had meant to me. And I'd asked you what spirits what a person goes through when they pass. And you had described tell us what you know about that and what happens to a person when they pass and how you know about this, because you gave me some very specific details.
Well, what I've experienced, what I've seen, because I have exceptional sight. So what I've seen is that we do have people that are around us. Nobody ever passes by themselves. There are our loved ones that comes around us. Our spiritual beliefs are around us. What we hold dear to that is around us. The peace that we have around this on it, it's not always scary. It's very peaceful. And it seems like that it's a light. It's the most beautiful light that you all of a sudden become encased in. Right. And I sent you a picture about the light.
That
this
now.
is what, right. Yeah. On it. Now that was taken from a friend's mom who had passed within seconds of her. And that's what I see is that light that goes up. And it seems like that they go very fast in a tunnel. It's not a slow process this way for some reason, but it's prisms of light that all through this tunnel that they go through. And I think it's really traveling from one dimension to the next dimension, because we're no longer on Earth's dimension when we pass. We go to another dimension on this one, on it. And we come to a spot where it's like all of a sudden it's just beautiful light. It's peaceful. It's loving. You don't bring all that junk in your trunk that you had while you were here. There's no pain of your suffering. There's no pain of your injury. There's no pain of a sickness. There's none of that stuff that goes with us. It is just peace. And that's where your heaven is. That is absolutely where your heaven is when you decide that you want to have that peace. You don't want to have that peace? Don't have that peace. You can go the other route if you want to. It's not a forced thing. It's where you want to be. But the thing of it is that she was such a lovely person. There was just beautiful light all around her, I could say, Todd. And her regrets were that, God, I can hear some of the woman talking behind me, but her regrets on that is that, yeah, maybe she didn't get a longer life here on earth, but where she's at is so beautiful and peaceful. That's why who wants to come back? Because there isn't any of that stuff that we have here over there.
Right.
Mm. I've heard stories where people have started to pass and they go through the tunnel and they see the light and they feel peaceful and they're ready to go. And then something is just not their time. And they come back and they wake up back in the hospital and they say like they didn't want to come back. They just felt this peace and weightlessness. And it wasn't their time. And all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, wait, I was feeling, I was taking this journey, which didn't finish.
Right. I've heard of that too on it, and I think that when they say it wasn't my time, do we get a choice when we get there? I mean, if we have a really sick body and we die, is that considered our time? If we're in a bad car accident and really there shouldn't be no survivors, is it our time? I always said this is that who makes up their mind what time is my time? Who says it is or who says it's not? Is there a boss of us really completely? And that's where we get the religious part of this on it. Can we put religion with this? But here's the thing about that. They don't talk about God when they get over there. They don't talk about anything that has to do with religion.
Wow.
And, and I want to know, well, why not? Well, I just think that maybe if they did, there'd be a war over there because we have so many different religions. Yeah. Who's right? Who's wrong? And maybe we don't know so much about religion when we get over there. Just peace.
So
Tuesday. No, go ahead, Kat.
Oh no. So this is always a question in my mind. When someone passes and they go to where they go, do they reunite with loved ones? Is that a thing? I mean,
they do. Well, see, we return back to energy. We don't have bodies no longer. Our bodies stay here. So we are, we're made up of energy. That energy, we still hold our cell memory, the good part of our cell memory. We leave the junk behind, but we still have those memories of that. And I think the fact is that, your parents are, or whomever's connected to, whether it's blood, through love, through relationships, wherever it is on it, they're still going to be connected with you. That energy knows your energy. It's like, you can walk in the room and not see your daughter, but you know she's there because you feel her energy. You feel the love that you have for your daughter. She's always going to be connected to you. No matter where you're at, she's going to find you because she knows your energy. Your energy is connected. So, I think that they have to be. Yeah. Well, how is it that they come to me? They get a whole family full. How is it that all family comes that knows that they're, let's say, sisters sitting here and all of them show up at once? So they have to be still connected to us, even though they don't have a body, but through their energy. The only way I can think about it does. Yeah.
The other night, Kat and I talked to you for the pre-show to determine what we discussed tonight. And you mentioned something that kind of struck me, that you'd said that you'd see if Laura wanted to communicate, and at the time she didn't. But you said something to the fact that she didn't realize that this would take her out. Obviously it was a shock to her as well with passing. Maybe you can expand on that if you know anything more about that.
Well, are you meaning that as far as is that Laura was shocked that this actually took her life?
Yeah.
Well, because first of all, I mentioned to you about nutrition, and I kept saying, when feeling her energy, I just kept feeling that nutrition was a factor about this too, whether she was either, like you said, either health nut, something she was really, really about the nutrition. Was she lacking in the nutrition? If you think about it though, I don't think it was just one factor that took her life. That was just that aneurysm. Right. There was something else that went along with that too on it. Yeah, so that had depleted. I felt a depletion in her body, and I really believe it had to do with some type of nutrition that she had in her body that was low on it. If we had that choice, if she had that choice, she would absolutely still be here. She had a happy life, happy wife. Yeah. The regrets that she have, she doesn't take any regrets with her. Nothing. She doesn't. She doesn't want to. she doesn't want to go backwards in time. She wants a piece on it. So she's not going to any regrets. She's going to take with her absolutely the love that she was given to her here. That's what keeps them at peace there.
Right. You also, Tuesday, you also talked to me initially about a spirit that had reached out to you that mentioned something about root beer as a reward. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I remember that.
I
It was
talked.
a grandfather. I believe it was a grandfather.
It
Is that your
was my
grandfather?
grandfather. It was,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I talked to my dad about that, and he was floored because my
Okay, cool.
grandfather was the biggest fan of AW root beer, and he always
Oh my
liked it in
God,
a
that was
bottle.
so cool.
Yeah. But and then you also mentioned something about one of Laura's sons
Yes.
going to flying, being a pilot.
Flying, right.
Well, I can tell you that both of her sons are in flight school right now.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, both of her sons
Yeah.
are in flight school.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. I felt that, it's funny that, but I said to them also too, I think in the email I sent them, they need to heed warning. This is going to be something that's very difficult to do. You can't screw around. You would have to pay attention. This is going to be a lot of work. Be prepared.
Yeah.
It is going to be a lot of work. So I'm hoping that they both of them, huh?
Yeah, both of them. One of them seems a bit more serious than the other, but yeah,
Okay,
they're both
so
doing it.
I think I said that in my email too, about that there
Yeah.
would be one that will be more serious than the other one will be.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You
that's-
did. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. See, this stuff, this freaks me out just as much as it does anybody else. It does. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how do we get this information? How do I know?
Right. Right.
Oh gosh. Well, good. That's so great. I still say that there'll be one that will be a pilot, not the other.
Yeah.
The other one's more
I'd agree with that. We'll have to see where both of them go with it. But I wish them both luck. If they're watching tonight, I'm going to say, hey, both you guys, y'all both. I'm not putting bets on either one of them. Both of them have a chance.
I get one that might be that fact is there's a, whether it's a computer engineer software or there's some kind of, but he's good with his hands. His hands, I could just see him fiddling, whether it's keyboards or something, but there's a brainiac there with the computer. And whether it's an engineer or some of this, but I'm getting that's where he'll end up going is through doing that stuff. And I don't know if he likes to play video games, but there's video games around him. There's some kind of gaming around him.
Yeah, I could go with that for both of them. But
okay,
Kat, we had some pictures being sent in. You want to go over one of those with Tuesday as well?
Okay.
Let's start with. You want to start with the Archangel? You want to tell us a bit about that?
Okay, so that would be the guy that's standing in the doorway. Let's see. I have to bring up the one. I don't see it up the top here. Which one are we talking about?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yes.
Flight of Spirits.
Okay, yes. Right. That is an angel. That is one that I have worked with over the years since I was a little girl, actually, on it. I call her Iridescel. She doesn't really have a name. It's just something I gave her myself. They don't really have names actually on it, but what she's doing in there is that I was going through a period where I was being taught how to take energies that were not so good for us, ones that were troublemakers, whatever. And she was in the bottom of her gown. You can look to see where there's different faces in there. She was actually, what she's doing is wrapping them up, and she was taking them to what I would call their most perfect spot, ones where they can receive healing, that they can, finish a transition stage that they didn't finish. But to remove them from there, they have all rights to be here. We all have our own free will, good and bad, but they're not allowed to harm. That's a no-no. So she was taking them and she was helping me to do that. So, but I've got several pictures of her. And in that picture too, if you go back to look at it, you can actually see. Now, do angels have wings? I guess they do. I guess, because you can see some wings on her. I don't see them as wings.
Also, too, that we've learned that angels have wings because of, literature over the years and legend.
I think so. But they've shown up in my photos with some wings. They have shown up in my photos with wings. So I don't know if that's our expectation of them or what the purpose of the wings were for. I'm not sure about that. But, there's a huge market on angels. People make big bucks on advertising with angels.
There's also, Kat, you remember she was telling us a story about a certain singer?
Yeah, remind me the story.
John
gosh,
Denver.
Oh my
John
gosh.
Denver.
Don't say that too loud. It's like looking around going, where? Let me do
Oh, yes.
sing for
This
another
is a good
week.
one.
Oh my gosh, yes. He spent a week
Do you
here at
mind?
my
Do you mind
house.
sharing?
Yes.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Then I one evening I just kept hearing John Denver singing, and it was repeating himself. So I really didn't pay much attention until I heard him talk, and I went like, I grew up with you singing. My sister was a big fan, so I know what your voice sounds like. I know. And I says, is this really, how do I know this is really you? You know, yeah, it's really me. Let me tell you what happened to me. You know, and he talked about his plane crash. What happened was that my next door neighbor, son, had 3 friends that were going to see John Edward and didn't get a chance to get a reading with him. So they were bummed about it, came home. There were 3 sisters. The 2 sisters came in from out of town. So speaking to one of the sisters that he knew, said, oh, I have a next door neighbor that's a medium. Maybe she'll help you guys. Long story short, after John being here for a week singing in West Virginia over and over and over again. I'm not kidding when I say over and over again. I mean over and over again. I get to their house and they open the door and I hear him start singing again. And I'm like, what does West Virginia have to do with you guys? And they're all yelling at me going, that's where my mom was from. I'm like, okay, what does John Denver have anything to do with you guys? She used to date him. Oh my God.
Wow.
I go, he's been driving me crazy for weeks. So see, what I thought was interesting about this was Spirit knew ahead of time.
Yeah.
It was all prearranged. They had it all set up that they were going to get their reading with John Edwards. He's, nobody does. I mean, he's very, he fits 5 people in his session in like 3 hours, but the thing of it is that ahead of time, they already had it set up to where I was going to be the one that was going to go over there and speak with these 3 girls. I was the one that was going to bring his mom through. I was the one that was going to have John Denver drive me crazy for a week, but I mean, the celebrity people that are in I've seen Charlie Chaplin in spirit.
Wow.
That was kind of cool. I've seen John Wayne. Cool. That was really super cool. Yeah. Charlie Chaplin I was at a theater that he built and I did not even know that it was his theater. And they were trying to connect with him there and I did not know it. And I went snooping around. The theater has been shut down anyways, but I ran into him up in the theater. Yeah, it was really cool.
That's so great.
I've seen Albert Einstein. Quite a few I've seen celebrities on that. So yeah, once in a while here and there they'll pop in.
Let me know if you ever come across Orson Welles. I'll just follow her.
Oh, that would be neat. Yeah. I'm still waiting for Freddie Mercury from Queen.
Oh, there you go. Let us know about that. Well, Tuesday, we want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, cool. Yes.
We've got your email address. It's tuesdaymilesat.yahoo.com. If anyone wishes to reach out with you, they can contact you through that email address. We're going to have you back on the show in a few weeks to fill in as our guest host, if that's okay with you. All right.
Yeah, that sounds great. Love to.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
So great.
Thanks. All right.
Always.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you
guys.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. So, Kat, you really, in these type of shows, you really don't get very personal with stories, but that was a very personal story, obviously for many reasons. But, people have got to understand the whole thing was completely true. It really happened that way. And you knew Laura, if I would have gone to Laura and said, hey, we've got a psychic that says you got to go to the doctor now, that wouldn't have really gone over that well.
Yeah, that's what I found so interesting because she was so healthy and she was so tuned into, her fitness and her triathlons and her nutrition. And it just, it made sense to her when she heard that it'd be somebody in her family because it wouldn't be her. She was always having your tests done and so it didn't make sense.
Right. Well, we're going to quickly go on to our news. We've got possibly time for 2 stories, but I know we got time for this next story that you're going to kick off, Kat.
Yeah. Okay. This is going to be fun. So are you looking to find a UFO? Well, it's apparently a thing for travelers. Skyscanner, a consumer fare tracking website, released a list of best flights to catch to see a UFO, or UAP, as they're known by the government. So, Todd, what do you think is the best flight to catch to see a UFO?
Anywhere traveling to Houston, after all, we are the space city and there's a lot of communication. We got Johnson Space Center here, so that makes sense to me. What is it?
Yeah, actually, I think you're onto something because the LAX flight to Houston's Bush Intercontinental Airport comes in as number 12 out of the 20 most popular UFO sighting flights with more than 31,000 nearby sightings. That's a lot of sightings.
Yep.
And the number one flight to see a UFO is Long Beach Airport, Doherty Field in Long Beach, California. It has the most nearby UFO sightings of any airport in the United States.
Yeah, and some other key takeaways, I guess, flights between San Francisco International Airport and JFK are the most likely to come across a UFO. And it looks like UFO sightings have hit a 7-year high with more than 1,000 reports in a single month in April of 2020. Why do you think that was, Kat? We weren't even traveling then.
I don't know. Maybe there's just like less traffic in the air, and so it's easier to see other objects. That's my guess.
Okay, real quickly, I want to show something that was published in Newsweek magazine. The best UFO photo ever. Best ever. That's a pretty big claim. Here it is. Yeah. Take a look. This was shot in Calvine, Scotland by 2 hikers back in 1990s. So here's a guy. These 2 guys were chefs. They're roaming around this countryside in Scotland. They take a photo of this. They give it to a British tabloid magazine. They hand it over to the Ministry of Defense, and bam, it's disappeared for like 30 some odd years. It recently resurfaced, and there it is, a diamond-shaped object in the sky. Some are saying that it could be from another galaxy, planet, dimension, or just a secret government project. Kat, it could also just be a hoax.
I'm going to go with hoax just because it looks too clear like a saucer, like we would think it would be a saucer. Okay. And the fact that you said that it was given to a news magazine.
Yeah, so well.
That kind of, for me, I'm not sure.
All right, you're going to go with hoax. We are running out of time, believe it or not. Kat, great job tonight. We'll see you next week, right?
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it.
All right, Kat, thanks for being here. And thanks to all of you for joining us on the Road Beyond podcast. I'm Todd Duplantis. Follow us in social media. Look for us as the Road Beyond podcast. We'll see you next week.